up my alley. And she was like, oh my God, yes, definitely. So I was so excited to hear that you were happy to have me on board.
Oh, thank you. She's so lovely. And she was going to
Yeah, she's
speak to you
amazing.
about Melbourne because I know you're doing the long lunch, and the
Yes.
long lunch is on the Sunday.
Yes.
So I was like, maybe you'll be able to come down a little bit early.
Yes. So that's what I'm planning to do. So it's all in the works.
Yes, fantastic.
Yay.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me today,
No
Isabella. It's so
problem.
lovely to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I am absolutely thrilled that you're going to share little bit about your story, your background,
Sure.
your lessons and your triumphs. But I guess
Yes.
we probably should get started with learning a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, okay, great. So I was a bit of a latecomer to the beauty industry. I worked in everything before I started my beauty diploma. I started my beauty diploma in 2007, and I think I was 27. I'd worked for Bridge Climb, the people that take the people climbing over the bridge. I'd work with children with Asperger's and autism because I've got a degree in psychology and behavioral health science. I worked in finance in London. I did everything from 18 through to 27. I'd always had a real interest in the beauty industry, but when I went to look at doing a beauty diploma in my early 20s, I was still living at home and I just finished my degree at the University of Sydney. And when I went home to tell my parents that I was thinking of doing a beauty diploma, they pretty much laughed in my face. They couldn't believe that I
Beauty
would
school.
consider going to beauty school. You've got a degree in science and psychology. Like, why would you go to beauty school? Purely because I had this incredible beauty therapist that was so happy. She was so happy every day. And I thought, wow, like, what is she doing that makes her so happy? Anyway, I looked at the diploma. It was 8,500 Australian dollars at the time. This is back in about 2002, and I didn't have $8,500. And my
Yeah.
parents said, we're not gonna fund you through anymore. They let me live at home while I was at uni. So off I went, and I was doing various things. And then I ended up actually in South Africa. I was engaged to a South African, and he said to me, you know, you'd always said you were interested in doing a beauty diploma. And now that we live in South Africa, we used to live in London. And because the pound going to the rand was so strong, I had some money. So I decided to study a beauty diploma. Now in South Africa, you can do it modular study. So I went and did facials first because that was what I was most interested in. And it was lucky because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the rest of the diploma because I wasn't sure I was interested in the rest, but I did do the whole diploma, and I must admit it was one of the best moves I've ever made. I believe in doing a full course of study. Just going and doing facials would have been very short-sighted of me, and I learned so much about, like, I had a degree in psychology, but I learned so much about humans doing the entire diploma, which was important. So I did the diploma, and when I finished the first module of facials, I just opened up in my spare room in Cape Town, and it just so happened we were living in a waterfront property. Over there, you can afford to do that. So we were living in this beautiful house with 180-degree uninterrupted ocean views. And I remember thinking, wow, like, what a place to run a business. So I opened this business with this beautiful view and had all this photography done of treatment beds with an ocean view in the background and beautiful women sitting on treatment beds. So it was my first lesson into a unique selling point in how important it is that if you really want to cut through the competition, you need to have a unique selling point. You know, anyone can just open a beauty therapy business out of a room. But if you have a unique selling point, business will be a lot easier because business is hard no matter what. But if you can make it easier for yourself by having something that people want, business will be that little bit easier. So the business went great guns. I had it for 4 years. It was so successful. And this was my first step into being an entrepreneur. My first step as being a businesswoman. I'd always been an employee. So I learned on the run. It was open a business, For ages, I didn't even have a credit card machine. I had a paper diary. It was, back in the day, there was just Facebook, very basic stuff, no Instagram. I was doing letterbox drops. It was basic stuff. But I ended up selling it to a 5-star hotel, which was wild to me. So in 4 years, I went from being unqualified and inexperienced to selling this incredible business off to a 5-star hotel that wanted the database and wanted the business. So that was really successful. And then I loved it so much, and I love fixing skin so much, that I thought I wanted to be a dermatologist. So when I got back to Australia, I thought, okay, I could go to medical school, but that's going to cost me $250,000 and 11 years to specialize, maybe 12. So I thought I'd better go and work in a dermatology clinic and make sure this is really what I want to do, because it's going to be an expensive mistake if I drop out. So I just so happened that there was a clinic up the road from me in Sydney that were advertising for a dermal therapist. Now, I had studied extra qualifications on top of my beauty diploma in South Africa as a hobby, like that was boosting my career. So when this job became available, I literally went up to the dermatology practice, knocked on the door and asked to be introduced to the HR manager, and said, my name's Isabella Loneragan. I am desperate for this job. This job is perfect. I am perfect for it. These are all the reasons. So it was one of those real, like, I'm going to bang the door down till you give me this job. And they did. They gave me the job. It was amazing. So I worked for them in a dermal therapy and like an injectables assisting role. So my job was to assist the dermatologists and help them. So the dermatologist would page me and say, come and help Cindy. She's got acne. Tell her what to use on her skin. I've given her Roaccutane. Tell her what she can and can't do. We did laser. I was a Botox consultant. So people would come to me first. I'd explain what it was. Then I'd filter them through the doctor. Now, it was incredible. It was the most amazing education I've gotten. But I got to the end and I realized that medicine was not for me, because I quickly learned that there is a huge demand in the industry for nurture-based treatments, hands-on, facial massage, facials and products to solve major skin conditions. Because what was happening is that so many acne and rosacea clients were coming to the doctor. They were spending $250 on a consult. They'd normally get to see the doctor for 10 minutes. Then the doctor would call me. The patient would come into my office in their clinic. The patient would burst into tears. She would say she felt unheard, unnurtured, and back on medication, which she didn't want to be. Hopeless was the word that I heard a lot. So I knew that there was enormous demand out there for people to be listened to and nurtured. But also I'd proven to myself in those years that with my hands and with the correct product ranges and things like chemical peels or LED, I could fix these people's skin. Also incorporating nutritionists and naturopaths and dietitians and the right diet and psychologists and all this cross-referral. So I took a chance and took a room above a hairdresser and quit my job for the doctors and opened this room. Within about a week, I turned it around. I don't know how I did it back then. I didn't have any kids. That's how I did it. And I didn't have a husband. I was single. So because I left my South African husband a few years earlier. So I decided to go off on my own. And luckily, a lot of the patients from the dermatology practice Googled me. So I opened my second business, but my first in Australia, with 11 clients on the first day. Because when those clients or patients had rung the dermatology practice, they'd said I'd left and they had the smarts to Google me. And I had already set up a website and started SEO and things like that to capture these people. And then I had the Dermal Diary. I created this business called the Dermal Diary because I envisioned it like I was writing a diary to myself about all the amazing ways we can help our clients without the need for aggressive medication. Not completely. I'm very respectful of the medical industry. They're miracle workers on many levels. But I envisioned that I would write, Dear Diary, this is what I've done today, and this is how I fix my client's skin. So I called it the Dermal Diary. I had it for 7 years, and I only sold it a couple of years ago to venture capitalists. And then I opened Isabella Loneragan Skin. So, yeah, in between all of that, I studied in Paris twice. I've studied in London, New Zealand, and all over, all with the goal to provide exceptional skincare and transformative facials to my in-clinic clients, helping them both achieve immediate and long-term skin health, but also to empower therapists and practitioners to master the art of facial massage through my online and in-person facial massage courses, elevating the entire industry. Now, you would know, because I've read your bio and I'm so impressed, that our industry is a little sad at times. And it needs elevation. The standard of care needs rising. So I've taken it into my own hands to provide exceptional advanced facial massage training, both online and in person. But in addition to that business training, I've basically compiled 20 years of running 3 businesses into one manual, and I train that. So as I stand today, I have 2 clinics. I've got one in Sydney, one in Bowral, and then I have a skincare line called Reagan Skin, and then I have my training academy, which is all based around the Intrinsic Intensive, which is a 4-day intensive facial massage course. So there's a lot of business streams going on. In between all that, I'm married and have 2 children under 5, which again is nothing in comparison to what you've achieved. I was so impressed when I started learning about you. I was like, oh my God, I thought I had a lot on my plate. So that's me in a sort of small nutshell. Quite a long way.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible. Amazing. And you keep mentioning the lifting buckle massage. Can you tell us what is that and how does it complement other treatments and, of course, help with ROI?
Yes.
Cash flow, I should say.
Yeah, for cash flow retention. So buccal is how I pronounce it because I was trained in Paris. So in Paris, all we said was buccal the whole time. Australians find that, I think, frustrating and irritating when I say it like that because everyone else says buckle.
No,
but
I love it.
So fancy. I train all my therapists. It's very Parisian, but why not? Why not enjoy a bit of Paris? So buccal is intraoral massage, and the way it was pitched to me or marketed to me back in 2018 when I came across it was that it's a sculpting and lifting technique. And yes, it is 100% sculpting and lifting. It's amazing for the people that do not want to do Botox and fillers. They're not interested in the scalpel. They're not interested in skin tightening machines. They want an alternative treatment that's going to speak to their soul. Now, when I launched it, I didn't realize at the time, but I was the only person in Australia doing it, and the media got a hold of it and it went crazy. I've never seen anything like it. I had to hire a PR agent to manage it because I had never come across such incredible demand. I had magazines emailing me and calling me, and I was running a business going, I don't know what to do with these people that are calling me. I didn't realize at the time how dramatic the industry would absorb it, because I guess we were the first to bridge that gap between superficial treatments and intraoral treatments. So I got started doing this lifting and sculpting treatment, and it was wonderful. My clients loved it. They thought it was amazing. But little did I know that people weren't necessarily booking for the results. They loved the external results, the lifting and the sculpting. What they were returning for, and this is what it's all about, the retention, was the emotional tension release that they were getting from the treatment, because we carry so much tension in our faces, especially in our masseter muscle. Women grind, we clench, we sleep, we worry, we have anxiety, we're worried about when am I going to, like, who's picking up the kids? I haven't done a load of washing. My husband's being in pain. All of this stuff that remains unsaid. It doesn't go away. It actually manifests in our muscles, and our tissues carry our issues, which I say a lot in treatment, because all of our issues stay, the body keeps score. There's a book all about this. So we build up a lot of tension here. And what I was doing and what I do is I go in and release a lot of that tension through massaging 3D. So fingers in and thumbs on and massaging. So what was happening is my clients were coming back and going, oh, the results are amazing. And I was like, oh, so you really like how you look? And they were like, oh, that's just the icing on the cake. I went home and I've never slept so well. I've never been so zen. My friends are saying that I had lunch with my friends after, and they said that my whole face looked different, but also I was different. So it's that treatment that bridges the physical results and intercepts into those emotional results. And I realized very quickly that my retention, therefore my cash flow, went up. Now, for me, that created some other issues because, of course, people were dying to get in. And I came back from Paris when I learned in 2019 pregnant. Now, I came back pregnant to my husband because he came with me. Everyone thinks that's hilarious. They think that I went over to Paris and got pregnant to a random. No, my husband went with me and I came back pregnant. Now, that was a bit of a scary thing because we weren't planning on having children. So it was a bit of a surprise. But I also was faced with this big problem because then I had this huge wait list. And what was I going to do? And I know a lot of sole traders have this issue in Australia, is that as soon as we have babies, everything stops, your income can stop if you don't work. So I knew very quickly that I would have to take on staff to deal with the demand, and especially to give me a maternity leave, because that's all we want. We want time off to be able to nurture our children. So suddenly I had to hire, and I had never hired before, and I was forced into hiring not only therapists to help me in my business, but then I had to train them in Bukal. So I was then catapulted into a challenge where not only was I in up to my eyes with business, but I had to write a training manual and train these therapists somehow on the fly. I was also in and out of hospital with hyperemesis gravidarum, and it was all pretty hectic. But whilst I was training these therapists, other therapists were ringing me saying, can you train me? So that's when I knew that there was a whole other business to be had. I just needed to work out when I was going to do that. So this went on for a few years. I grew and grew and grew, and I trained all of my therapists. And whilst I was training them, I was notating down how I was training them, writing my manual, perfecting my manual. And then my manual went on the shelf for a few years because we had the 2 COVID lockdowns and I had 2 babies, and long story short there. So then I worked out very quickly that I was at capacity with the demand for Bukal, but also these people were knocking on the door asking to be trained. So then I eventually sold that business and we moved out of Sydney. I now live in a regional area. And then when I moved out and sold that business, I opened this clinic with the goal just to have something on the side while I was having my babies. But in between all that, a clinic in New Zealand called me and said, we want to fly you to New Zealand to train all of our therapists in Bukal. Now, I had this manual that was sitting on the shelf, and I thought, now is the time. It wasn't the time, but we as women with children, there is no such thing as it's not the time. Every minute is the time. So I thought, I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to launch this course in New Zealand and see how it goes. So I did. I launched the Intrinsic Intensive, and I had the demand for Bukal and the demand for training. And you can imagine what that did for my cash flow and my investment, which was originally I'd flown to Paris to do this qualification. And the rest has just gone crazy. People are hugely demanding advanced touch therapies. And therefore, my business has gone from strength to strength. So I launched it in New Zealand, brought it back to Australia, and have launched it here. And I think I've done about 12 or 15 intakes. So it's about 200 students, not including my employees that I trained when I had the dermal diary. And every time we launch one, it books out. So, and I'm still running my one-on-one clinic. I don't have staff anymore. I'm a sole trader, and I just do one-on-one. But then I train usually 12 to 14 students in one sitting. So Bukal is magic.
That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And do you believe that the PR and that initial exposure, being the only therapist doing the Bukal massage, played a big role in your personal branding and people being able to find you?
Enormous. It really put me on the map. As I said, people contacted me and I didn't know what to do with them. So I had to hire someone to manage it. And it was the perfect storm because I chose something unique, chose something that people didn't know they wanted until they'd had it. And it also opened me up to a whole new target market because the reputation of me and my facials grew so much. But people would ring me and say, I don't like facials, but I've heard what you do is not a facial, so I'm coming. And that to me was mind blowing because I think therapists hamstring themselves a little bit by only targeting people that tell them they want facials. But if you upskill in a unique treatment, you can open your whole world to people that didn't realize they wanted a facial. So that was what was wild to me is people were coming to me saying, I don't like facials, but my friend said I had to come, so I'm here. And then I would convert them to products. So we were converting people that were spending money at Woolworths on skincare into regular facial clients and spending, $165 on a vitamin C serum as opposed to just buying Nivea from Woolworths. And they were seeing a change in themselves and in their skin. So it's very short-sighted to only target or to only train in things to be reactive in the industry. You have to go out and broaden your horizons all the time. And when you broaden your horizons, I've worked out you attract a clientele that you never knew existed.
Absolutely. And I mean, you have so much credibility and have done so well. It's just remarkable and the most beautiful branding ever. It's so elegant. For people who don't have that and who want to grow their credibility and want to be an authority in a certain space, what do you recommend to them?
Oh, that's such a good question. And it's a hard one to answer, to be honest. Look, unfortunately, I think it comes down to things like Instagram. A lot of people ask me about PR, and I say to them, look, PR is amazing, but you have to have something very unique. I'm really lucky in my relationship with my PR agent, Susan, because she's an incredibly honest PR agent, and that's rare, I've learned. A lot of PR will take you on and tell you that they'll get you places or placements in magazines, and they will, but they might not be that high quality. So when people ask me about PR, I'm like, I recommend you getting PR if you've got something very unique and no one else has. Again, it comes down to being PRable. And so you really want to find someone that's going to be honest with you and tell you whether you are PRable, and you have to have thick skin. And if you're not PRable, go and find something that is unique and PRable for you to get out into the industry. Now, the other way you can do it, which probably would be a little bit easier, is to be yourself, but be yourself outright on Instagram. And even I struggle with that. I definitely have an Instagram presence. There's no doubt about it, but I don't do a huge amount of opinionated stuff. Like there is some that comes out, but there are a lot of people that do a lot of that. If it's authentic to you, it will do very well. If it's not, it won't. And interestingly, I went to listen to Dr. Gabor Mate a few weeks ago at the Sydney ICC, and he was such an incredible breath of fresh air. He basically closed an hour and a half presentation. He didn't even have any notes. He just spoke for an hour and a half. It was unbelievable. And at the end, he said, if you do not authentically put yourself forward to the world, it will kill you. And I was blown away by that. I think we all believe we have to be someone else, or we have to be like someone else in order to be successful. And it's one of my biggest challenges, but it's something that I challenge myself every day. I kind of ask myself, is this really what I want to put out there? Is it really what I want to do? I find the more successful I am, the more I lean into the stuff that brings me joy, because I'm my most authentic self. And I learned very quickly that hiring lots and lots of therapists underneath me and having big businesses, that wasn't my joy space. because I lost touch with my customer, and my customer, my one-on-one client, my 45-year-old, 55-year-old woman that wants to be told what to do for their skin to be healthy and have it managed for them, that is where I'm my strongest, and teaching students. I'm not great at managing 12 therapists and keeping them motivated. That's not really what brings me joy. And I had to come to terms with that. And it's been the best thing for me to just say no. And it also comes down to what you define as success, because 10 years ago, it was this thing in the industry that if you didn't have a big clinic with lots of staff, you weren't successful, which is total BS. That's an industry norm. You need to work out what makes you happy. So if doing one facial a day for $300 makes you happy and you can afford to do that and you're your most authentic self, then that is your barometer for success. If doing 10 facials a day at $100 and you're happy with that and you're comfortable financially, that's also fine. I just think that making sure that you are authentic to your market is how you get credibility, because your customers will trust you because you will be your most authentic self. They'll come in, they'll know you're comfortable, they'll believe you, and they'll trust you. So I think if for anyone that's wanting to work out how to make their mark in the industry, is just, if you want to go on in a hoodie and sneakers on Instagram and that's your brand, do that, because people that love women that dress in hoodies will follow you. So you'll be with your people. So that's kind of what I'm quite a classic dresser. I was raised by a very elegant woman. My mother was a very elegant woman, and I feel that's where I'm my most authentic self. So that's why my branding looks like that. You'll never see me splash different like fluoro colors over my branding, because it's just not who I am. No shade to those that do, because that's who they are. So I just think the authenticity it's thrown around a lot in the industry, but if you really sit in it and think, okay, what makes me the happiest, that'll come out, and that's what gets you the credibility.
Absolutely. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yes, exactly.
And tell us when and how and why, and I'm assuming it was daunting, being that it's such a saturated industry. Did you launch Reagan Skin?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. So I'd been fantasizing about doing my own skin range after spending 5 years working with Australia's best doctors and having a science background. I had fantasized about it for a long time. And I literally just woke up one morning and was like, I need to stop fantasizing about this and make it a reality, or at least give it a go. Now, the driver was that I had about 6 ranges on my shelf of my little clinic. I was a little clinic above a hairdresser with all these ranges. And it was a little annoying because I was constantly having to cherry pick, which was frustrating for ordering. The reps didn't like it. They wanted me to order $10,000 worth of products, and I only wanted to order $1,000 worth of products. And some ranges, I only wanted some of the products, and they didn't like that. They wanted me to take everything, blah, blah, blah. And I got annoyed with having to say, oh, take this cleanser, but I don't have this serum from this other brand in stock, and da, da, da. So I finally just realized that I thought I had the know-how to do it. So then I wrote a list of all of the prerequisites of what it would take to get this off the ground. Like, I needed to find a formulator in Australia. They had to be in Australia. I didn't want to go offshore. I didn't trust offshore. And I thought, well, don't go offshore if you don't trust it. Stay here. I wanted to be able to speak to the head pharmacist on the phone if I wanted to. So like he would pick up the phone or she would pick up the phone. I wanted to be able to order as many or as little products as I wanted. So if I wanted to order 5, I could order 5. If I wanted to order 5,000, I could order 5,000. And I wanted to, I said Australia, be able to speak to the pharmacist. I wanted to have a say in where the ingredients were sourced. For example, if I heard that, the best vitamin C molecule came out of Switzerland, I wanted to be able to say, can we research what's coming out of Switzerland and not have them say, no, you can only mix, like you can only use what we have on the shelf. So I remember it was January of 2018. I literally woke up one morning and I went on Google and I just spent days and days and days and days researching, phone calls, reading my list of prerequisites to anyone that would listen. And I finally found a company that ticked all my boxes, and it went from there. And I guess the only fear I think I had, because I didn't really know what I was getting myself in for, that was the other thing. Like, ignorance is bliss sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, because sometimes you don't know what's around the corner. So I thought, like, what's the worst that can happen? The customer of mine just says no, and then they buy whatever's on my shelf, because I already had a loyal following. So I was like, if they don't like it, then they just keep buying what they were buying. The goal was to convert them. So the first 3 months we were selling, I launched 8 products within a year. And then within launching the first 3 months, we were selling 80% another product and 20% my range. And then it flipped the next 6 months, literally 20% the other ranges and 80% mine. And that's when I knew I was onto something, because it took the 3 months for the real customers, because I'd done beta group testing, I'd done all of these groups. It took 3 months of the real customers to really fall in love with it. And then they told their friends. And the secret was that I was there able to do the proper consults and give them the product. Whereas a lot of product houses, the formulator, which was me, isn't there. Like, you can't meet the formulator of Dermalogica and you can't meet the formulator of Murad in your corner clinic on the high street. So there was just all these little secret sources that made it work, in that I was accessible. I swore by the brand. If there was an issue, I'd replace it instantly, but that didn't really happen. The clients loved that nurturing, that full nurturing. And so there wasn't a huge amount that was risky, I guess. And because I didn't have to invest $10,000 to buy the $10,000 the MOQ, that was the other thing, is that I said to them, I want to just order 100 of the vitamin C instead of 3,000. The investment wasn't huge. It was enough, but it wasn't killer for me. So I started kind of small, and then it grew. And now we're selling, I don't know how much we sell, a lot. A lot. I have a whole e-commerce business alongside it that my husband runs. So it's just been fantastic. It's been a dream, to be honest. It's just been a dream come true having Reagan, because I fix people's skin with it, with my own creation, which is just a dream.
That is fantastic. So you're selling Reagan Skin not just in clinic, but online.
Yeah, so we've got a whole e-commerce site, and we also have it in a couple of clinics. Not a huge amount, because we only launched wholesaling to clinics like 6 months ago, 8 months ago or something. And most of those people that come through, they've done my training, my intrinsic intensive training. But yeah, so I sell my product to my clients in my clinics, and then my husband runs the whole e-commerce site, which is a whole business on its own, that I don't have anything to do to really with the day-to-day of that. He works for me full time, so he runs that. So yeah, we've had an e-commerce. I originally created the products for the Dermal Diary, but I sold the rights of those products to the new owners, not the recipes, the rights to sell them. So I kept the recipes, and then I just reformulated and improved on it. And then I launched Reagan Skin. So Reagan Skin is kind of 2.0, the Dermal Diary. And so, yeah, it's just gone gangbusters ever since. It's nuts.
That's incredible. And you see constantly this debate amongst therapists and frustration, I guess, when some skincare lines are sold in Mecca and Sephora or Priceline and Oz Beauty and whatnot. Do you think that will be in the future for Reagan Skin, or?
Look, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say we have a huge wholesaling market at the moment. I'm very particular about the product and about who stocks it. So we have a prerequisite list. When people email us, we ask them a bunch of questions, and if they don't answer in the way that we need them to, they don't go into consideration for stocking the product. So I guess I'm more about the therapist that stocks the product, not en masse stuff. I couldn't answer you about. I don't see it going into Priceline because it's a higher price point. So I don't see that being our market. And I'm not ashamed of the price point. We're a higher price point. We're not a crazy, we're no Lemur, but the quality of the product is extremely high. And with it, they get me. So a lot of people don't realize is that when questions come in, I'm the one that answers them. I'm the formulator. So they pay for that support and that service, and I guarantee them that support. And then when I train my therapists that stock it, they get the therapist is trained by me. I don't have reps that work for me. So I don't look, I would never say never. I've learned very many times in my life, never say never, because, I said I was never having children and I have two. Like, how well did that work out? So I don't know, but it's not on my, I'm not chasing them down. It's not on my agenda. We haven't pitched to those big businesses, and I'm not spending any time thinking about it. If they knocked on the door, maybe, but I don't really see it in my future. I just don't know. I also didn't see me being on television in my future, and I'm an accidental TV personality now, which I find hilarious because that was never in my agenda. That's what I mean. Never say never. You just don't know.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think something that's consistently coming through is how true you are to your brand and how authentic you are. And that's certainly something that people love.
Yeah, I think people do love it. And I think it's easy when you believe in it. And when I've got 20 years of treating skin and I've seen the same thing over and over again, I'm very confident in treating skin. So authentically, it's easy to be true to my brand because I created the product. The product's existed now since 2018. I know it inside and out. I know everything about how it's going to react on the skin. So yeah, it becomes very easy to be authentic. I think when you're not sure of your brand and your offering is when it comes across to the public as wishy-washy, and consumers don't like wishy-washy. They want firm directive, but empathetic. They want to be heard and nurtured, but they also want proper direction, especially confused women about their skin. Women are very confused because of Instagram and TikTok and Mecca and Sephora and all the people on, like it's very confusing. So I just stick to my pathway about how to analyze skin and how to prescribe, and it works.
Oh, absolutely. And there is so much smoke and mirrors out there.
Oh,
There's so many filters, and
oh,
the expectations are so unrealistic.
oh.
Every poster, every image you see of everybody advertising anything is
And
so
it's
AI'd.
amazing. It's amazing because I say it actually does my business the world of good, because when they get in front of me, they're like, oh, thank God someone's telling me the real truth about my skin and how I'm going to manage it and what I can expect. And I'm like, yes, that's my job. My job is to work for you, to help you manage your skin and make it the best it can be. I'm here to work for you. So instead of you going into Mecca and those chicks are just there churning through sales, my goal isn't a sale. My goal is that client will come to me forever. That's the goal. The goal is retention, and they're so happy that they would never dream about going to anyone else. And if anything, I sell and I sell lots of stuff, but if anything, I underprescribe because I want people to make sure that they know that I'm not there to just sell them a whole lot of fake stuff. I'm there to sell them genuine skincare health effectively. And that's very important to my brand because, as you can see, it is my name. So everything has to filter into integrity, because otherwise my name just gets dragged through the mud and I can't afford that. So it has to be authentic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of the industry being flooded, there's so many online courses out there.
Oh my God.
And you can waste so much money doing various different courses and end up no better off, or the whole course has been created by ChatGTP.
Yes.
So tell us about the intensive intrinsic course.
Don't worry, it's a mouthful. Yeah. It's the intrinsic intensive. And I sometimes think idiot to call it that because people really struggle with it. Okay. So basically what I did was, after specializing in this treatment and training all my therapists and like coping with the demand, it was very obvious to me that Australia needed excellent, advanced, high quality facial massage training. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, I need to train, but I have to do it with high standards and a lot of integrity, because if I'm going to put my name out there as a trainer, I have to make sure that my reputation is crystal clear. So I called it the Intrinsic Intensive because it is 4 intense days. I have had students cry on the second day because it's intense, but I always say to them, you are paying for ultimate upskilling. You're paying for me to basically transform your skills. Unfortunately, the quality of facial training in Australia doesn't have a good reputation. I was a bit shocked when I came back from South Africa. I actually interviewed to go and become a trainer in beauty RTOs. And I decided it was not the place for me because my standard was so high that I knew it would irritate me being there. So I thought I'm going to do it privately because I want to make sure that I'm offering incredible quality. So I do that. It's a 4-day course. It's 3 entire days of intense facial massage training, 6 to 7 on the beds, 6 to 7 standing. So I am never more than a meter away from any student. It takes a lot of correction and a lot of nurturing and a lot of trust building and support, because I get a lot of facialists, massage therapists, beauty therapists that actually have a lot of insecurities and are very fearful of their future and their business, and they feel like they're failing and they feel like they need a unique selling point, which is why they've come to me. So I kind of have to nurture them and coach them the whole 4 days that they can do it. And they can all do it because I've put them all through it and they all do wonderfully by the end. And that takes a special skill. You are lifting and motivating and nurturing 12 to 14 students for 4 days. It's pretty full on. And as I said, usually by the second day, I get the message on the third day that there was some tears the night before. Women go home to their husbands and their boyfriends and say, I can't do it. But then suddenly the penny drops by about 10 o'clock on the third day. And then they're going, oh my God, I can do this. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get it instantly. And there's nothing that you can get instantly. I think Instagram has taught us that these people are just experts overnight. This has taken me years. I went to Paris twice. I've spent hours massaging fake heads and women and free clients. And this is not an overnight thing. It is a 4-day intensive course. On the last day, I do the Business of Facials Masterclass, which is basically 5 to 6 hours of business training, coaching, mentoring. I go through every layer of my business, from providing the best client experience, email marketing, social media marketing. We create content for the students because they're screaming for content. No one knows how to get it. It's all too expensive and overwhelming. So we create all this content on the 4th day so my students can go and market in real time, because we want them to get an ROI instantly. We want them making money from this course within 2 to 3 weeks of them completing the course after they've done their practice clients. So my biggest gripe in the industry is we're all taught these new fancy treatments, but no one tells us how to market them or run a business or how to entice people to come in. I do that in the Intrinsic Intensive. I teach my students how I've done it over 3 businesses in 20 years. So I initially launched an in-person course because I don't believe you can effectively train buccal intraoral massage online. There is a lot of online training. I don't believe you can effectively get the right techniques through online training. And when people come and learn from me, they totally agree. They're like, there is no way you could communicate what you need to know about the mouth and how we're going to train it through an online course. I don't know how they're doing it, but I do know I'm retraining a lot of people that have invested in online and then realize they're not confident and come. I've even retrained a lot of people that have done in-person training in Australia, and they're coming to me because there's a lot of pop-up people that are suddenly, everyone's an expert now. I'm noticing everyone's a trainer. Everyone's suddenly, an educator. And look, we all are educators in our own right, but there's education and then there's education, So yeah, I created that. And then I've recently over Christmas launched my first online external facial massage course because the demand from overseas to train with me was huge. People kept private messaging me saying, when are you going to offer online? Now, online isn't really where I shine. I mean, people seem to love it, but it's not. I'm a very much in-person person. I make lovely connections. I'm all about the nurture and the touch and the eye contact. However, I did the online course and actually it's done really well. I'm really proud of myself because, of course, you have to be an IT expert to do online too. You've got to film and you've got to upload it into systems and you've got to create booklets and chapters and manuals and all of that. So it's been a labor of love. Luckily, my husband works for me and he's incredible with the IT side, thank God, because I'm not. But we launched it Boxing Day and it went crazy. And I just on Sunday did a live demonstration and a lesson about how I use the art of facial massage to increase my retention and grow my business. And that went crazy. And we had heaps of people attend the live Zoom, which was amazing to me. So, and now I'm working on more online training for this year, but I'm still doing a lot of the intrinsic intensive. I'm going to Tasmania next week to train Tasmanian therapists. And then I've got all the rest of my intakes. No, August is not fully booked. April is fully booked. June is fully booked. And I think there's another month that's fully booked, but I've got spots in August this year. And it's Expo weekend too. So the same, I do a course off the back of the Expo weekend because a lot of people fly in for Expo. So then they come to the training, which is what I did last year. So yeah, I'm very, very committed to raising the standard in the industry by training therapists in excellent advanced facial massage.
Absolutely astounding. You're such a trailblazer.
Oh, thank you. I love it.
And when you go through the business module of the course,
yeah,
and you're talking about investing in marketing for retaining clients, for attracting new clients, sometimes marketing can be like this sort of bottomless pit that it doesn't matter how much money you put in, you're not seeing the appointments, in your bookings. So what do you recommend to people?
Okay, so if you're not getting bookings and you are spending a lot of money on marketing, it's because your messaging is off. So it's one thing I've learned over the last couple of years. Messaging about what you do and what you're all about is everything. So if you put a Facebook ad up and pay for it and you say, I do facials and I really like them and you should come to me, you're probably not going to get much return on those ads. But if you put a post up that says, this facial is going to change your life because of these things, and really put your unique messaging out, you're going to get eyes on the ad. So if your messaging is wrong and it does not properly represent you and your brand, you won't get business. Now, I don't advertise. We advertise for the intrinsic intensive to get students in for that, but a lot of it's word of mouth, and so is my client base. I generally nurture my client base over spending money on ads. And the reason I do that is because it's a lot more expensive trying to find a new customer than it is to keep your current customer happy and to get them to spend more money on different things. So like add-on treatments or different products or memberships or whatever it is. So we're always making sure that our retention is as high as it can be before we go and work out how to get more customers. And I've kind of worked out in my industry what sort of ads to use to attract the right attention. For example, I'm quite a high price point. Like my most expensive facial is $475. So that cuts out a lot of market. A lot of people don't come to me because I'm too expensive, which means they can't afford it. Totally fine. But I also do a consultation, a full skin analysis and a consultation that costs $300, but the $300 is fully redeemable towards products, which people love because they're getting value. They get all my expertise for like 30 minutes, but then I give them a plan, and then in exchange, then they spend $300 on products. So if I've if I usually Bowral is quieter. Sydney, I'm fully booked for months, but Bowral, because I live here, I keep it a bit more relaxed. But if I'm looking to inject business into it, all I need to do is put out an ad that says, come and see me for $300. I'll give you a consultation and a mini facial, and the $300 is fully redeemable. We did this about 6 months ago because Bowral was a bit quiet, because I never push Bowral too hard because it's where I live and my clinic is on our block. So it's not a huge deal, but I was like, oh, we could probably take on a few more clients. So I did a local promotion. The value was insane because they basically got the advice and the mini facial for free. Now, they had to spend $300. So it was about an hour of my time for $300, but I'm guaranteed to get repeat business out of them because every single person booked again and every single person came back for product. So initially it feels like you're giving away time, which you sort of are. But because I'm so sure in my products and I'm so sure that my clients will love my treatment, it's easy for me because I know. Now, if you're a therapist and you're thinking there's no way I would ever do that, or I don't want to invest that kind of time or money, I don't think you believe in your brand well enough for you to not do that. And you're short-sighted to see the short-term loss and not the long-term gain. So I'm in this for the long haul. I'm not in this to run this business for another year and then retire. I'm 44. I'll still be doing this at 54. And I reckon I'll still be doing it at 64, maybe not to the speed, but definitely doing it. So I'm in it to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow my brand and my reputation, because if you can grow your brand and your reputation for being honest, empathetic, outright, authentic, people will stay with you forever. And I've had clients that have stayed with me since the dermatology days, which is 2011. I've got a bunch of clients that are still with me, have followed me all over New South Wales. And they've said to my face, I'll never leave. I will never leave. And that's all because of authentic branding and putting out there what you know is true to your brand.
That is so cool. And just what a great soundbite there. That is just an incredible statement that you just made. And I think that's going to resonate with so many people. For 2025, which feels like it's flying by. So I feel
my God, so scary.
What predictions do you have for the future of this industry?
That is such a good question. Okay, so my biggest predictions for the industry, I actually had to think about this and wrote some down. Dramatic reductions of filler application, for sure. Fillers are dropping off. Slight reduction in Botox, because people are becoming very aware of toxins, and also it's quite a high ticket item. So with the pinch of the cost of living, I'm noticing that people are moving away from Botox. And also with that Botox scare we had about 6 weeks ago, where there was an issue there, which can happen. People are very aware of their health, and they're much more aware now about what they're putting in their body than they were 10 years ago. So Botox is coming down, not dramatically, but it's definitely coming down, which is great for my industry because people are wanting more touch-based treatments, more results through manual facial massage. Also, I'm noticing an increase in biomodeling treatments. That's definitely on the up. So your salmon sperm treatments, they're going up. People are more interested in longevity. If they're going to drop $800 on an injectable, they want to know that it's not going to be gone like Botox does in 3 months. So interestingly, filler's down because it's not as trendy. Botox is down because of toxins, but the bioremodeling, because they're pitching it as more of a natural product, I'm seeing an increase. But again, all leading to dramatic increase in touch-based treatments. Also because post-COVID, we are much more aware of how awful it feels to not be sharing energy physically. And that was one thing that when I survived 2 lockdowns, it just goes to show you that you can survive lockdowns if you've got a good brand and you're honest with your customers. So we survived 2 lockdowns, And I remember about 3 weeks before we were lifted for the second one, I remember thinking, oh my God, there's no way people are going to want to come and have a facial like after this. It was a total opposite. The phone rang nonstop because people were desperate for physical touch. And it stayed. Physical touch has been huge. I mean, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, would I be banging on about facial massage and how powerful it is? I'd be laughing. I would have been like, no way, chemical peels all the way and your Fraxels and all that. And all that stuff, machine-based facials, because you don't get, you're breaking the energy channel between you and your customer. You can still grow a business around it. No problem. People are doing it. But I'm finding that the retention is so much higher when you have the control of your hands on your client the whole time. So yeah, I think predictions are strong for 2025, and they're much more leaning into an alternative treatment. And I don't mean alternative hippy dippy. I mean alternative to major injectables, scalpels, and downtime facial treatment machine treatments. I'm seeing so many customers come to me and they're like, I'm not interested, which is wonderful to me because it means my messaging is crystal clear and that I only attract the right customer into my business. And that's very important, is that when I train my therapists in the course, I get a lot of complaints from therapists saying they get tire kickers, they get people that complain about the cost, they get people that book all these treatments and then the last minute they cancel and they just want an eyebrow shape. And I'm like, it's because you're marketing to the wrong customer. You're attracting the wrong customer. The right customer's out there, but your messaging's off. So as soon as you get your messaging right, suddenly all those will drop away. And I don't have any problem having people pay the $475 for a facial because I haven't entertained people that would complain about the cost. My website is very clear about what the cost is going to be and what they can expect from me for that cost. They get a lot, but it means that I attract the right customer. I don't attract people that are going to complain about a facial that costs over $100. They go down the road. In fact, if they ring me, I tell them to go down the road because that's authentic to my brand. And I raise other people's businesses up. I'm like, go down. They give a great facial. But I'm not that therapist. I'm a different type of therapist.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful that everybody's supporting everybody. And
it's the only way. We must support each other. I don't believe in tearing businesses down or bad mouthing businesses. I think karma is very, very powerful. That stuff will come back and bite you. So I'm all about raising women up. And that's what my whole course is about. I want to raise people's skills so they can financially and independently live their lives, support themselves. And with that comes, you have to be authentic to the industry and complementary to the industry. Also, there's enough business for everyone. In this country, this first world country, we are a rich, wealthy country. There is enough business for everyone. So there's no reason really to be competing with other people. The only person you should be competing with is yourself to be better.
Absolutely. Out of your incredible career, what would you say was the greatest highlight? What do you love most?
Oh, I think surviving the 2 COVID lockdowns and having 2 children, that was pretty amazing. I still think back and think, not in my wildest dreams would, if someone said to me, oh, there's going to be a pandemic and you're going to run a business through both of them whilst having 2 children, 2 C-sections, pneumonia and hyperemesis gravidarum all within 20 months. That to me is, I sometimes think, God, if I can do that, I can do anything. And it goes for all small business owners across the world. Like how we did it, I don't know. So that was a big one. And then last year I won the Australian Women's Small Business Championship Award. That was pretty cool. I really was proud of that. I felt like I was being rewarded for being my authentic self and for raising up the industry in an industry that's got a lot of cracks. I know I outright won that award for doing a good job, and I only want to do a good job. I want to leave a good legacy. And I just think, on a personal level, having 2 children, I don't know how you've done 4. That to me is just the most amazing thing ever. Like 2 to me is so challenging. And my husband works for me and he's effectively at home all the time and we still struggle. So I'm in awe of you. Having 2 children at 40 and surviving 2 C-sections and my husband and I work together and we've made it work, that I'm really proud of that. Like I know a lot of couples couldn't do that. And I think we grow stronger all the time. It's actually brought us together, working together, which I was really scared about. So yeah, there's both professional and personal achievements that I'm really, really proud of. I just love this industry. You can be anything you want in this industry. That's the other thing, is so many people don't realize, but I think a lot of people just look at us like we're beauty therapists or beauticians. Like, oh, you're a beautician, fine, whatever. But it's such a wonderful industry if you choose to make it a wonderful industry. If you bitch and moan, then it'll be a moany place for you. But if you raise it up and you invest in it, oh man, you just wonderful things happen. Wonderful things happen. And you meet the best people. You just meet the best. I just love training. I just meet these incredible women with these incredible stories. I just love it.
Absolutely, so true. And who in this industry even inspires you?
You
outside of the industry? No,
you, you do.
I don't know that I've done a good job with the kids. It's been a struggle. I think the first one was like a practice run.
Yeah, the first
and the last one I'm holding on for dear life. Don't cry.
No, you are very inspiring. I didn't know much about you, and then I started to dig, and I have dug over the last few months, really. And yeah, like as a woman that has done similar things to me, but also very different, and also in different realms, you're very, very inspiring. It's a good question. I'm a bit funny with inspiration. I must admit, I do very much stay in my own lane. I've learned if you stay in your own lane, you get very little drama. And there's a lot of drama. There can be a lot of drama in our industry. But having said that, I've met some incredible people in the industry that have proven to me that women can be incredibly supportive people when they're comfortable in themselves. As soon as they're not comfortable in themselves, that's when drama happens, is what I've worked out. So I stay clear of drama. And that's a challenge in our industry, I've noticed. You know, there is a lot of that goes on. But I guess on a global, well, I say on a global level, but I guess it's my globe. My mother died 2.5 years ago, and every day I wonder how she did it. So she inspires me even beyond the grave. She had 5 of us, and she got married at 20 or 21. So she went straight from her parents' home into the husband's home. And being a woman that's 44 and divorced and remarried and had 2 children and also worked, had a full career, my mum did not have that. I'm just fascinated. She lived through a very fascinating time. And I think we get to be in this position because of the women before us and the women before that. They paved the way for us. So I think it's a lot of inspiration comes from women that were born way before our time, that made those some small and incremental moves or changes in the world for us, but some really big ones. And so I'm really into reading about trailblazing women that did incredible things. So yeah, I think my mother was she was a very elegant woman. She was a very influential woman in her own right. And my parents had a very happy marriage, and they were married for 60 years or something insane. And so I think she's probably the one that motivates me to keep going. Also because she was incredibly intelligent. She had a degree from the Sydney Uni honours in arts, and did Latin, and then went on to study horticulture. She was one of those women that even though she had 5 children at home, it wasn't going to stop her. So she was one of the, she was heavily into politics and would watch every ball of a test match. She was just fascinating. And so I think I use her as my motivation to be different and don't accept mediocrity. Don't accept it. There's so much of it. Everyone's very comfortable. We lead very comfortable lives in Australia. We've all got a comfy couch and Netflix, and it's very easy to sit and scroll, but we waste so much time when we could be doing so many amazing things. And so I kind of use her and people like you that have just gone and gone and gone whilst having kids. Kids are really challenging. They're hard work. I love them, but oh my God, it's nonstop. So yeah, thank you for being so inspiring.
No, thank you. My goodness, this has been absolutely amazing. I
Oh,
can't
I'm
wait
so
to the smile
pleased.
off my face. If people do want to learn from you and come and do the intrinsic intensive
Yes,
course, or buy Reagan Skin, or come and
yes,
have a beautiful facial, how do they
yes.
find you and
So,
contact you?
okay, so there's a lot. Is it the website, which is ilskin.com.au, and then Reagan Skin, it's just reaganskin.com. And then I do a lot of work out of Instagram, like many of us do, and that's just my full name. My handle is Isabella Loneragan, which is a bit of a mouthful, spelt Isabella the regular way, and then Loneragan, Loneragan, and a lot of the information is in there, but there is a whole training page for the intrinsic and my courses on my website, which is the ilskin.com.au.
Absolutely incredible. I can't wait to see you live in
I'm so
person at
excited.
the Aesthetic Business Masters.
Yes.
And I think that delegates are in for an absolute treat. They're going to be
It
so
looks
blown away.
it looks incredible. I'm super excited to be involved. I feel like I'll be right at home there.
Oh, you will be. You will be. And you will just absolutely knock everybody off their
Oh, I
seat.
don't know about that, but I'm hoping to impart what I know about and share it so people can utilize it in their businesses.
Yes, definitely. And it's the energy. Even by Zoom, I can feel your energy
The
coming across.
energy,
It's
it's all about
incredible.
the energy. You really want to, like, yeah, that's why I love in-person stuff. I'm all about the in-person training and in-person treatments and touch and, all that stuff.
Thank you so much for your time today. I really
No
appreciate it.
problem. It was my pleasure.
We'll see you again soon.
See you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.